Hey guys, it's Jessie from Plaid and welcome to Let's Paint Live, our monthly paint party where we teach you to paint a painting in just about an hour. So this month, it's one of my favorite editions of Let's Paint Live. It's our December ornaments. So every December over the past almost 7 years, we've been doing ornaments in December. So make sure to go check out those old videos on Facebook if you haven't seen those. But I'm super excited because tonight we're going to learn how to paint these really fun little bow ornaments. So we are going live here on Facebook and TikTok. So I've got a couple different cameras here. I want to make sure everybody gets to see the project we're going to be doing. But I'm going to show you 3 different ways to paint a bow. And we've got this really pretty, like soft, sort of pastel-y, but traditional Christmas palette going on here. And then at the end, we're going to be putting on some Mod Podge sparkle. So thanks guys for coming. I hope you guys paint along with us at home. I'm going to show you all the supplies you'll need for this painting. Also, I want to mention Caitlin's here in the studio, so if you have questions and comments, I can see them here on TikTok, and Caitlin can read them to me if they're on Facebook. We would love to hear from you guys. We'd love to know where you're watching from, if you're painting along, if you've painted ornaments this year for Christmas. We'd just love to hear from you guys in general. So, the supplies you'll need for this, for these ornaments are our 4-inch wood round. So this is actually one of our surfaces. So you can buy this on plaidonline.com, or if you haven't been to our website recently, we have a brand new website. It's beautiful. You can get all these paints and surfaces and Mod Podge and brushes and everything here. It's really easy to navigate and it's really fun to use, so check that out. But this is one of our surfaces. You can also purchase this at Walmart. There's our surfaces. And then of course we'll be using our Let's Paint Live kit. So if you're joining us for the first time, our Let's Paint Live kit is the kit you can use for any paint night that we do. Like I said, we do our monthly paint night. We've been doing it for the past 7 years. So there's dozens and dozens of videos to follow along with. And the kit comes with 24 FolkArt acrylic paints, as well as a set of brushes. So like I said, everything you need to paint along with all of those videos. So we've got Dutch Aqua. So it's this really pretty, like soft, like robin's eggy sort of aqua color. We've got Berry Wine, which is a pretty like dark burgundy. Apple Red, Baby Pink, and then we've also got some Wicker White. And then like I mentioned at the beginning, we'll also be using some Mod Podge Sparkle. So this is one of our original Mod Podge glitter formulas, and it just gives that really pretty sort of like subtle sparkle and shine to our project. So we'll be using this at the end to just make our ornaments a little more sparkly. So Caitlin, we're going to go ahead and start painting unless anybody has any questions.
Nope, I think we're good for now.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to open up my wood rounds here. So it comes with 4, but I'm only going to use 3 tonight. You can save the 4th one for another project. I didn't drill holes in it or anything. We can talk about this at the end too, but to turn them, they just are like wood coasters, but to turn them into ornaments, I just hot glued some ribbon onto it. So it's a really easy way to turn these into, I've got paint on my hands. It's a really easy way to turn these into ornaments without having to like break your drill out or, you know, like nail a hole through it or anything like that. It's really easy to just put some hot glue in a ribbon. I'm going to put these aside. And the first step is to base coat our ornaments. So we've got 2 baby pink backgrounds and then 1 Dutch Aqua. So I'm going to grab some baby pink and put it on my palette. And I'm going to grab my 1-inch flat brush. And I'm just going to base coat the background. And I'm going to go right up to that bark edge and then stop when I get to the bark edge. And that's just because I really love that like natural raw wood look to it, but feel free to go right up over the edge. You can just paint right off the edge if you prefer that. If you want the whole thing to be pink, it's totally up to you. But I'm just going right up to that edge so I can kind of save that pretty wood border. And we'll just need 1 coat. Since we're using our FolkArt acrylic paints, they're super thick and creamy. They've got really great coverage. So you can see here, we're just going to need 1 coat. It's not going to take more than that because we're using FolkArt paints. And this is a FolkArt brush too. Like I said, it comes with the kit, so it's got really nice soft bristles. You can see how smooth it is. You just go right up to that edge and it makes it really easy to paint with. Okay, so I'm going to smooth it out. I'm going to do another one with the pink. Just going right around that edge with the edge of my brush. And just smooth it out. When you're base coating something, you don't need to put a ton of paint. You just want to put on just enough paint to cover the surface. Any more than that and it's just going to be too thick and it's not going to dry fast enough. And then that can lead to cracking sometimes if you put way too much paint on it. But you really just want to put just enough to cover that surface so you get that really nice, smooth, even look. So I'm going to rinse my brush off and then we're going to grab some of this Dutch aqua color for our third ornament. Using the same brush and do the same technique just with the aqua. This is a really pretty color. I love this one.
So we're painting 3 bows tonight?
3 bows, 3 different types of bows tonight using our FolkArt Let's Paint Live kit. Bows are really trendy this year, Caitlin. I don't know if you've seen all of the bows for Christmas, which I know it's like kind of always a Christmas thing, but I've been seeing like full trees of just bows, full wreaths of just bows, like giant front door bows, like no wreath, just bow. I don't know if you've seen that stuff too.
I haven't. I love that though.
Anthropologie came out with this really cute wreath that just had like all these beautiful velvet ribbon bows all over it. And we've just been passing that image around our team because everybody's so obsessed with it. So I figured it was a good one to paint for ornaments this year.
I think so.
Okay, so now I'm going to grab my hairdryer and I'm just going to dry that really quick before we start painting our bows on top of it.
And Dylan Estes would like to know if you can show him the bows up close to the camera.
See you on TikTok?
Yep.
There you go.
So pretty.
So there's the red one. This is like kind of just a traditional. And then we've got this one that's like more fluffy. And we've seen like some of those like really overly stuffed bows. And this one that's like a double, like thinner ribbon. So just 3 different styles, kind of depending on your preference. You can do all 3 the same one if you like one best, but I'm going to show you 3 different ways to paint bows. Grab my hairdryer. All right. Okay, so which bow should we start with, Caitlin? Which one do you like best?
I like the blue one.
The blue one, okay. We're going to start with this one first. So grab one of your wood rounds that you just painted with the baby pink background. And we're going to paint this super cute, sort of like overstuffed looking bow. I also should mention too, if this is not a color palette that goes with your theme for the holidays or goes with your home decor, feel free to change it up. You can do traditional Christmas colors, you can do neutrals, you can do any color palette you like. You could do it to match friends and family's home decor and give it as gifts. This is just what I picked because I thought it was pretty, but it's totally up to you. All right, so first to paint our big overly stuffed bow, I'm going to grab a small flat brush. So this is a number 10 flat, but 1/2 inch flat works great too, anything that looks like this. And we're going to use this to sort of block out the color that makes up our bow. So I'm going to do it like this, hopefully everybody can see it. And what I mean by that is we're going to sort of paint the background shape of the bow before we go in and add any sort of these like details and shading to make it look like it's more dimensional. So I'm going to start by placing the center of my bow. So the little knot in the middle, I kind of want it in the middle, but I want it towards the top. I don't want it dead center because I want to leave room for the tail. So I'll start in the middle and then move my brush up, so closer to the top, about 2/3 of the way to the top. And I'm going to use the width of my brush to create that mark, and that's going to kind of mark out the center of our bow. So hopefully you guys can see that. And that's going to kind of give us an idea of where everything else is going to be placed. Okay, so now I'm going to use my brush and I'm going to paint out the loops of the bow. So I'm going to start with the right one. And just how you think a bow would look, this one's pretty simple. I'm going to create that right shape using my brush. And I want it to be pretty big. To get that really overly stuffed look, I want it to be fairly large and to kind of go down quite a bit. And then just fill it in. Like I said, since we're using FolkArt, it's just going to be one coat and then you're going to be done. We don't have to go back over it at all, which is nice. And then I'm going to do my best to just match it on the other side. It can be a little different. That's totally fine because it'll just make it look more realistic because, you know, no bow is perfect on either side. You try to get it like that, but it never happens. So just 2 big sides. And again, we're just blocking out this area of color, kind of like a coloring book. And then we'll go back over and add the lines. And then for the bottom, for the little tails, I'm going to start in the middle. So you can see here, I keep a good gap between the left and right. So we're going to use the knot of the bow as a sort of our guide. And I'm going to mark here and here to make sure I leave that gap. You see how I did that? Just to be mindful so I don't go too far close to the middle and then I lose that gap. And we're going to go all the way to the bottom on the right. I did a little bit of a wave just so it looks like it's flowing. And then the same thing all the way to the bottom on the left. And then we're going to keep it pointy. And we're going to do sort of a diagonal and then go up to the top. And fill that in. And keep in mind, you're not seeing detail now because we're going to add that after. And then kind of the same thing over here. I'm going to go diagonally to my left and then meet back up at the top. And I did that all with my small flat brush. So now just fill in if you need to fill in at all, if you have any little spots that are still showing pink. But your shape should look something like this. And if it doesn't look exactly like this, that is totally fine because like I said, when you tie bows, they never look exactly the same, so that's okay. Okay, so it should look something like that. You guys see that on TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay, so now to add the details for this bow, I'm going to grab some of my berry wine, which is the like burgundy color. I actually need a little tiny bit. And I'm going to grab my number 5 round brush. So if you have like a liner brush, that's good too. Just something small-ish, something small and round. And I'm going to grab a tiny bit of my berry wine and I'm going to mix it into my Dutch aqua. So what this is going to give us is just sort of like a purpley, slightly darker version of the Dutch aqua. Okay, so to paint the details of this, we're going to start again at the center, and we're going to go on either side. 1, 2, and just kind of highlight it. We're going to highlight it really loosely. We're not going to outline the entire thing. We're just going to give it so you can see like some of the detail and it gives it more shape. It's not just like a blob. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go over the outline the tops as close as I can. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's like kind of a cartoonish stylized version. So you just need to kind of just follow that edge as best you can. And then for the bottoms, so for this bow, you can see the bottom opening on these loops. So we need to think about that when we go to paint the shadows. So for the bottom loops, I'm going to start at the tips and I'm going to press my brush down as I pull up, and that's going to give me that nice wide sort of like football shape. That's going to make it look like the bottom of the loop is open. So press and then pull up, and you see how you get that shape? And then the same thing for the other side. Press and pull up, and it makes it look like you can see the inside of the loop there, just like a bow would be. And then we're going to paint in some thin little, pucker lines, because this is our super overstuffed bow, so you want to see those wrinkles because it looks like it's really big and puffy. And then we're going to follow the edge of our tails here just to give it some dimension. And you can go all the way around, or you can just do the edges to sort of highlight and shade. But that is our bow. So super cute, really simple. It's great for gifts because you can paint them really quickly. You can paint a lot of them. But yeah, that's our first bow. That is our sort of overstuffed blue bow. So we're going to go ahead and set that to the side. All right, which one should we do next, Caitlin?
Red.
Let's do red next. Okay. So this one is like kind of a more traditional looking bow. So this is what I think of when I think of like a Christmas bow, sort of like the wavy bottom. It's similar to the blue one. It really is, except for the shape is just a little bit different. So I've got my pink background ornament, and I'm going to grab some of my apple red. That's going to be the base of our bow. And I'm going to grab my small flat brush again, just like we did for the first one. So I'm going to pick up some apple red, and we're going to start the same way we did before with the knot of our bow. So I'm going to find the center, I'm going to go a little bit up, and I'm going to paint the center of my shape. So there's that. So you guys on TikTok can see. And then for this one, I'm going to make it a little more irregular. So for the right loop, I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to be a little smaller than the blue one because you don't want to really give it that like super big, dramatic, puffy look like we were going for the blue one. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, but it's going to be the same sort of bow shape, just not quite as dramatic. And just fill it in. And again, just like the blue one, we're just sort of mapping in those colors. And then for the left one, just to make it feel a little different, I'm going to give it a little bit of a squiggle. So I'll show you what I mean here. I'm going to go and start creating my loop and then give it a little bit of shape there, just so it feels like it's got a little bit more characteristic and a little more life. And we're just going to fill that in. Okay, so it should look something like that. Okay, so the bottom, this is where it's a lot more different, in my opinion, than the first one. I shouldn't say a lot more different. More so than the other one. Let me get some water out of my brush. You don't want to have too much water in your brush because it will dilute your paint and it'll just make you have to do more coats. So you want to get all that nice, thick, creamy consistency to your paint, and that's what really makes it, makes FolkArt paint shine. So if you rinse your brush off in between and you still have that water stuck in your brush, you want to really dab it on a paper towel and make sure you get all of that out. Okay, so for the bottom part, actually I'm going to switch to my smaller brush. Let me clean that one off so we can get some more detail. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my smaller brush. This is the number 5 round that we're using for the details. I'm going to grab some of my red, and we are going to paint. This is going to be more of like a triangle shape. So I'll start with the left one. We're going to start at the knot, and we're going to go out to the left and down and make sort of a dramatic triangle. So I'll show you what I mean. Out to the left. You don't want it to be like pointy like a triangle. It's going to have round edges on the side, and then come down to a point at the bottom, and then meet back up. And then the same thing for the right side. Pointy at the bottom, come out as a triangle, and then meet at the top and round it on the side. So I'm going to fill that in with my little brush, and then we're going to make it a little more squiggly to give you the idea of like a curling, like what am I trying to say? Like a curled ribbon, like a flowy ribbon tail. I'm looking at Caitlin. She's like, I don't know what you're trying to say.
Like a guppy.
Like a guppy. like the fin of a guppy. Exactly. That's what I'm going for. Okay, so we're going to fill these in. And again, you can see how just like red is sometimes really hard to cover with acrylic paint, but since we're using FolkArt, it's really easy. Just one coat and we're done. So now I'm going to make it a little bit curvier. Like I said, I'm going to add a little bit more of a wave to the edges in some areas, just to give it a little bit more life. See how I'm doing that? Okay. And that is what the base of your bow should look like, with just the red blocked in, and we're going to add some berry wine for the details. Okay, So now I'm gonna have my small brush again, still my number 5 round. I just rinsed it off. And I'm gonna grab some of my berry wine. And we're gonna do something similar. We're gonna start by sort of outlining the center. So on the left and right of our knot, we're gonna put a little C stroke there. And then for the left side, we wanna really follow that curve and really make it feel dramatic. So you really get the idea of that like wavy bow. And then for this one, remember on the first one, on the blue one, we pressed our brush down to make that loop. We're gonna do that again, but this time we're gonna do it on the top on the left and the bottom on the right. And that's gonna give you that like really traditional sort of like if you've tied a bow before, you know, it comes through the top on one side and the bottom on the other side, so it really makes it look like a real bow. So on this one, we're gonna do it on the top, so press down to see that loop, and we'll do it on the right side on the bottom. So we're gonna press down to do that loop. And do the same thing, we'll give it a little bit of an outline on this side, nice and thin, and then give it a little bit of puckering on the inside. And then again, we'll give it some puckering on the bottom too, since the bottom of these, since the tails are so wide, it would definitely be some bunching there. And then we're just gonna follow the curve like we did before. And this is where you can really make that curve feel like super dramatic, which I think is pretty. Okay, and that is our traditional red bow. That's what I think of when I think of a traditional Christmas bow. So I'm gonna rinse it off. Okay, so you can see we're not adding glitter yet. We're gonna add all the glitter at the end all together. So for the last one, we're gonna paint our white doubled bow. So this one, in real life, it would be, or in my imagination, it's like a little bit thinner ribbon, and it's doubled up. So you can see we've got 2 loops and 2 tails, or I should say 4 loops and 4 tails on this one. So that's what makes this one a little bit different. So I'm gonna grab some of my wicker white, put it on my palette, and then I'm gonna grab my number 10 flat brush. So again, a 1/2 inch flat is fine, just a small flat brush. I'm gonna pick up some of my white, and we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna start in the middle to make our knot and then go up a little bit. And we're gonna do a little stroke there, and that's the knot. I have a lot of paint on my brush. That's the knot for our bow. So for this one, instead of painting out the shape, the big, you know, puffy shape of our bow, we're gonna use the width of our brush as the width of the ribbon of the bow. So what I mean by that is we are just going to do one stroke, and that's gonna be a loop, and then another stroke, and that's gonna be the other loop. I'll show you what I mean. So we'll do one shorter one on top to look like they're layered, meeting back at the knot, and then one, these could overlap, another longer one on the bottom. So the one I just did and this one can completely overlap, because you can see we'll add in that detail to make it look like they're overlapping. But you want them both to meet back up at the knot. Just picture that like if it was a real ribbon, they'd be coming out from that where they're tied together in the center. And the same thing for the other side. And then for the bottom, we're going to do something similar. You can see they're going to be overlapping once we add the details, but without the details, it looks like it's kind of just like 2 V's. But I want these to be sort of wavy and curly, so we're going to come down to the right and give it a little bit of wave. And then one here below that, and again, those can overlap. And then the same thing on the left side. Come down, and then there you go. And you can kind of go back and paint in that knot again. So it should look something like that. So for the details for this one, I'm going to go ahead and grab my small round brush again, and we're going to add a little bit of berry wine to our white. A little bit goes a long way, so you don't need a ton, but it's going to give us that pretty, like dusty, sort of mauve-y pink color. You could use the baby pink, but it's going to be a little brighter, where this one just feels more like a shadow to me. So that's why I use the berry wine instead. Makes it a little bit softer. Okay, so I've got those mixed together to get this like pretty mauve-y, pale pink color. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do our 2 lines on either side of our knot to make that shape pop. And then I'm going to, this is where you really want to make, you know, you kind of have this like one big white blob. It kind of looks like a squid right now. but you really want to make it look like things are overlapping. So this is where we need to use the outlining to really be very intentional and make it look like you did it on purpose. So I'm going to do a low light under here, so a little bit of a shadow. And then another one under this one. And then the same thing over here. Put a little bit more berry wine in there to darken it up just a little bit. There we go. It's a little too light. And when you're painting really thin lines, you don't want a ton of paint in your brush. I just had too much, so you can rinse it out and kind of start fresh. It'll help you control the paint way better in your brush. And then the same thing here. And then we're going to give it some outlines on the bottom as well. Okay. And that's what this one should look like. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dry all of these with my hairdryer, and then we can add our glitter. So I've got my Mod Podge Sparkle. So if you guys are Mod Podge lovers, you may have used Mod Podge Sparkle before. Mod Podge has tons of different glitter formulas, and this one, in my opinion, is like the most subtle. It's got that like super pretty sort of shimmery sparkle to it. Like I said, it's a little more subtle than some of our other Mod Podge glitter formulas that are a little chunkier. So this is one of my favorite ones to use on projects like this. It just gives it that little bit of sparkle. So I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to grab my small flat brush, but whatever brush is fine. This will just be easier to control it with. We'll start with our blue, and I'm just going to put it on the bow part. You can put it on the entire thing if you want. You can put it on just the background if you want, but I'm going to put it on just the bow. You can put as much or as little on as you want. The more coats you do, the sparklier it'll be. And like all of our other Mod Podge formulas, it goes on milky white, but then it always dries clear. So you can see like the gluey base. But as soon as it dries, all of that will go away and it'll just be the glitter left. So it's really easy to use. Do my red one. And then the white one last. Okay. And then once those dry, like I said, they'll start being like really milky looking, but they'll dry crystal clear, and all you'll have left is that sparkle. So they'll look like this when you're done. So really pretty, really easy to do. Again, guys, we're using our Let's Paint Live kit and our wood round, so make sure to check those out on plaidonline.com. They're right there. You can paint along with all of our Let's Paint paintings with them. So thanks, guys, for joining us. I had so much fun painting with you. If you decide to paint these, make sure to hashtag Plaid Crafts so we can see all of your beautiful work at home. That's how we get to see what you guys are making. We'll be back in January for a brand new Let's Paint Live the first week of January to do something fun for the new year. So make sure to check that out, and we will see you guys then. Bye!